everybody. Welcome to With Good Company, January 10th, 2025. A very important day in the advertising and marketing world as the Supreme Court is starting to listen to the case on whether to allow TikTok to continue operating as is within the United States. So a ton of creators today, you are paying attention to this thing, or at least you should be. TikTok has become such a money-making vehicle for growth marketing companies and creators, and obviously it's a source of discovery. And within the advertising and marketing industry, there's really not a good feel of whether it's going to stay or whether it's going to go. My personal feeling is it's going to stay, or some variation of it is going to stay. But the fact that there are some execs that have left is certainly a little bit concerning. Obviously, also Meta, with its recent announcement to roll back fact-checking, certainly positioning itself as the next player to take over should the TikTok ban go into effect. So what does this really mean? Can we quickly say, hey, I'm an advertising agency or a growth marketing agency and or a brand, and most of our dollars are going to TikTok as far as discovery, as far as growing new business. And the reality is it's not as simple as like, hey, okay, TikTok goes away and we're just going to shift those dollars to another platform. First of all, who's going to take over the traffic? Again, we think that maybe it is one of the Meta properties. Obviously, Instagram is extremely well positioned, but there really is this teeter-totter between long form and short form video that's starting to take place, and perhaps it's YouTube. Maybe that's where some of the money goes. But similar to when a new product launches, I think it's going to take some time, right? So growth marketing agencies who are expecting robust first quarter budgets for their TikTok campaigns, might be forced to pull some of that back, or they might be greenlit as quickly as some brands and companies are going to want to take a look at, hey, how does this settle? Where do the eyeballs go? Is there going to be a new player that comes into town where we should really focus on? And good for them, honestly. You don't really necessarily want to jump right in, although there is going to be a real opportunity if this TikTok ban does go into effect for somebody to own a space again, right? We always talk about ownership. One of the reasons why Dr. Pepper has been so successful, in our opinion, is they decided some years back that we're going to own college football, and whether it's through video, through social, through their entire campaign, and it's really worked out for them. So owning a space is really important when it comes to your marketing strategy and getting your brand out in front of a select number of folks. So TikTok is definitely, the lead story for today, and you're going to see a ton of reporting on it, a ton of headlines on it. It's going to be popular. And again, our thoughts are that it's going to stay in some way or another, perhaps with some kind of acquisition or deal to be made, or perhaps another player popping in. But it's certainly something to take a look at, right? And if you're a creator, what does it mean for you, right? The good thing is that creators are pretty nimble, pretty easy to adapt to new rules and new realities very quickly. So, I think it'll be interesting to hear from you guys to see, like, hey, what's going to be the new platform? If TikTok shuts down, where am I going? I think that would be really, really interesting to hear from anybody. Are you going to go more long form with YouTube? Are you going to try to stay with the shorter form stuff on Instagram? Is there another platform? Is it the Twitches of the world? Is there something else that you're looking to explore and maybe own again? It'll be interesting to see how different spaces would evolve without TikTok to just basically be the foundational piece of creator-owned content. So it'll be interesting. It'll be definitely interesting to see one way or another. And it should get resolved very quickly, right? This ban was supposed to go into effect in the next couple of weeks. So it'll be very interesting to see what the results are from the Supreme Court. But, it's been an exciting week in media in general. First of all, you had WWE Raw debut on Netflix. Netflix paid in the billions for this property. And, they basically, blew out all the stops for it. They brought in The Rock. They brought in Hulk Hogan, right? Old school Hulk Hogan, to galvanize the boomer fan base, which didn't quite work out for them. But look, Netflix execs were live. They were right there just to see the event in person. And from a live streaming point of view, like, they did a great job. Like, people don't realize what it takes to actually bring these things to life without a hiccup on a production side. Like, this is a massive undertaking. It's going to be streamed to, I think they said, 80% of the world. So, just even making sure, that things like video audio are working. There's times that if you're a personal blogger, you can't get your camera to work on your computer or your mic. Meanwhile, these folks are, the undertaking that they're doing is just absolutely insane. So kudos to them for, doing a great job from that. The show was entertaining from what I heard. And it'll be interesting to see what it does, as far as like the Netflix subscriber base. I mean, obviously, I don't think it'll only be an incremental increase, if at all. But, it's one of those properties, live sports properties, that continues to be, kind of like the crown jewel of either a network or a streaming service that you need to really build a foundation on. And Netflix is so far ahead of, some of the other players in the game that, they can spend, those types of funds. They obviously had their NFL game also. And that did crazy numbers. So are we really seeing a situation where Netflix really solidifies itself as the, video viewing platform for the next few decades? I mean, they're obviously the leaders in the clubhouse right now. And it'll be interesting as like all these sports properties come into play and become available. Are they going to get more involved with it? Are they going to really want to be the platform for this? Because we see that obviously the NFL dominates, but even from other ratings points, it's sports and a few events. We saw Nikki Glaser do a great job at the Golden Globes, and that did some numbers. I think they cracked 10 million viewers, which is still half of what a regular season NFL game on Sunday Night Football does. But those are kind of like the tentpole events, and then live sports really comes into play as far as like getting people's attention and using those types of sports platforms to build out and promote other programming. So kudos to Netflix. Great job by the WWE. They really did a really good job of linking the past of the product and bringing it to the future, and being very open and honest about it. It'll be cool to see how it evolves on the Netflix platform. Beyond Netflix, Disney bought Fubo. Fubo, you might not be as familiar about, but Fubo is a fantastic streaming app for folks who are into live sports, specifically soccer. For me, I'm a European-born soccer fanatic, and Fubo has been the way for me to stream soccer games, from Europe that I have been able to watch. And now Disney, can add that to the bundle with Hulu and ESPN, and really be the main competitor to Netflix as far as like this, broadcast giant that can really offer a lot. Obviously, Disney has something that Netflix doesn't have, and that's the kids, right? Like parents. I have 3 young kids. They're all obsessed with Disney products and the Disney Plus app. Although they have been like shifting a little bit to Netflix also, which is interesting. I think Netflix has been like their first choice for like shows, So those are like the two main players that are going to be punching against each other as far as being the just the juggernauts in this space, which is funny because you think of like the NBC and the Paramounts of the world, and not that they're afterthoughts, but they were clearly just a little bit late to the game and didn't see how the future was evolving. And now they're paying a little bit of the price for it. YouTube TV obviously is also another main player. And again, as all these sports licensing deals come into play, it'll be interesting to see who throws money at what. I mean, we saw Apple Plus or Apple TV Plus pay a lot for the MLS package, which worked out for them. Didn't necessarily work out for the MLS as far as like eyeballs. And this happens often. It's funny, these leagues grab the money, they go for the money, upfront money, because hey, they're businesses too. But what winds up happening is fewer people can actually find their product, and in a way it devalues it in a way, right? Like, because if I could have 10 million viewers on ESPN because it's a more recognized brand where I find sports, versus like 4 million viewers on Apple TV, but Apple TV is paying me 4 times what ESPN was, or maybe it's not 4 times, but maybe it's 2 times. If you're the owner of a team, you're going to want that money up front and then worry about the next renegotiating deal after that. So it's funny. It's this thing where leagues are kind of shooting themselves in the foot a little bit. I mean, the NBA is really going through it right now. There's a lot of factors. Obviously, the game has changed so much with the 3-point shot, and just superstars not playing every game. But one thing that's not really talked about as much is the fact that it's just harder for me to find games, right? Like, as somebody who's cut the cord, I can't find. I'm a Brooklyn Nets fan, man. It's been rough the last few years, but I am a Brooklyn Nets fan, and it's been hard to find the games because I have the Hulu package, and the S Network is not on it, and I refuse to pay $30 a month, and I think that's an absolute insanity. But basically, that's I've gone from being a huge fan to being just a casual fan as a result of it. So all these factors of media disintegration and the changes to the game obviously play a huge role in that as well. But the NBA has some real issues to consider, and it'll be interesting with the new ESPN contract. I think they did a great job bringing Barkley back and the gang there. But seeing whether the players play, seeing whether the game in some way can change, or not just have 43s being chucked up every single night. It's definitely something that they're going to have to deal with, which also gives leagues like the WNBA an opportunity to gain prominence. Obviously, they had such an incredible year last year, and there's so much talent there, and it would be cool to see that kind of take a little bit more of a stronghold. Because the game is actually much more enjoyable sometimes than watching some center throw up 5 3-pointers every single day. Maybe I'm old school. I mean, I grew up during the Jordan years, and Allen Iverson slashing through to the basket. So I don't know, maybe I'm just wistful for those times. So but yeah, Disney and Fubo, that's where we were going. Really interesting merger. Again, gives another chip for Disney to play with as they continue their drive towards broadcast dominance, and it'll be fun for the viewer, at least to kind of connect all those things. ESPN is launching its own streamer called Flagship. Any way that we can consolidate this stuff is going to be good for the viewer, because we were promised savings as a result of cutting the cord from cable, and the opposite has happened. I mean, we had like a good 1 or 2 year run, but now everybody is charging you, $9-10 to $20 to, if you want live TV, $80 a month, and it adds up, and we're actually paying more when that shouldn't be the case. So any kind of occasions where we can just bundle these things together and make them a little bit more affordable, I think for the viewer it's going to be a lot better. And since we're on the topic of sports, the NFL playoffs are starting. My 49ers aren't there. I'm a little bit salty about it, a little bit bitter, but it was a rough year. But a lot of great games on the slate, and they're going to do crazy numbers. So, if you're a brand or an advertiser buying time, on the NFL playoffs, or in some way involved as a sponsor, good for you. You're going to crush it again. And it's a real opportunity to, obviously maximize brand awareness and even increase brand perception if you play it right. Gary Vee's been living in my head a little bit rent-free for the past year. This time last year, he was on some dais, and he started talking about how outside of the Super Bowl, spending money on NFL advertising is a waste of money. And his argument was that, hey, you should put those funds into social media because that's where people are consuming content. And obviously there's some truth to that, and you need to have a healthy social media budget in order to be a real player in the media game today. But it really got me to think about these events like the NFL, like the Golden Globes, the Academy Awards that are coming up. These are communal events. We watch them all together at the same time, and then we comment on them. So the Golden Globes happened this past Sunday, and your TikTok social feeds, Insta feeds were immediately filled with content from that night, and then creators working off of that media. Social media takes this content and regurgitates it, and it's a little bit of a derivative of the original content. So as far as if you want to be thought of and perceived in a much more positive way, there's still a ton of value to put your spots on those marquee platforms. And look, the creative has to be good, right? You can't put just hey, here's our stuff, here's our low price. No, creative has to be good. Creative has to be fantastic. It has to be entertaining. It has to be engaging to get people's attention. But you're going to be in front of millions of folks' eyes, and it's a real opportunity, for people to see your content, to see your creative, to see your brand, and to get you into their buying selection process. So if you're a brand or a marketer who wants to place a spot in the NFL playoffs, or has placed the spot on the Golden Globes or something like the Academy Awards or a tentpole event, you should feel really good about it. You should understand that you are going to be in an elite place as far as brand awareness, brand perception. Your ad, unlike in social media where a good percentage of those ads are going to be seen on the toilet, right? doom scrolling on a couch on a bored night. The audience is captive, the audience is interested. Just make sure that your content is good. There are a few platforms that are actually better than live sports, and especially the NFL, that can really make a brand and really establish them as a leader in whichever space that they are looking at. So Gary, respectfully disagree. Obviously, social media content and creative is super important, but as far as building brand and especially on the luxury side of things, the live broadcast of live sports or tentpole events is still an essential and very qualified way to build your brand equity. That's going to do it for this Friday. Thank you so much for listening. Please like, follow, share, and have a wonderful weekend. Let's make some bad decisions out there, have some fun, watch some NFL games, and we'll be right back here next week to talk about everything that's happening in the advertising and media world, and potentially some other things that pop up. Have a great one.